right, Arts Preview. This is a pre-recorded demonstration for you because I will not be physically in class on Tuesday, but today we're going to be learning about color mixing. So we're going to be mixing our color wheel using our three primary colors as a foundation, and then mixing our tertiaries, which are the triangles, and our secondaries, which are the squares. And then I'm going to teach you how to create a monochromatic value scale, which means mono means one color, so you're going to choose one tertiary color and you're going to mix shades of that color and tints of that color. A shade is when you add black to a color, and a tint is when you add white to a color. And we want to get a nice value scale from light to dark with that one color that we choose. The purpose of this is that I'm going to be introducing a pop art painting project to you guys, and it's going to be something that you have to have knowledge of color mixing to do, and also knowledge of how to get values within a color to do. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to try not to make this too long so that you can go ahead and work alongside of me if you want to. Now, you can print this out. This is on Schoology in your assignment, but if you cannot print it out, I know that my webcam has trouble focusing here. If you can't print this out at home, you don't have a printer, that is totally okay, but you are going to have to take a piece of the good drawing paper, not the watercolor paper, but the drawing paper. We don't want to waste the watercolor paper. The drawing paper is a lot floppier than the watercolor paper that I gave you, and the sizes are about this size, maybe a little bit bigger. And you're just going to have to draw out the color wheel and your value scale, and you can paint directly on that piece of paper. But if you can print this out, it will be a little easier. Alright, so the very first thing we're going to do is set up our palette. This is just a board that I have at school. You can use cardboard, probably the easiest thing for you guys to use, or if you have a painting palette at home, that works too. And if you've bought a whole set of paints, you're only allowed for this assignment to use your primary colors and black and white. Okay, I will know the difference between a green that's mixed with the primary colors and a green that you get out of the tube. Okay, I have a good eye for that. So I want you to learn how to mix these colors. Now, again, my webcam is not the best when it comes to actually like capturing color. This is yellow, red, blue, black, white. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is get my paints on my palette, and you don't have to take as much as I did. I took probably a little too much. And I'm going to drop my primaries in there. It doesn't have to be in any particular order. So I'm going to put red at the top. Now when I'm painting with acrylic paint, I like to use a small brush for these this size work. So you use the smaller brush I gave you, and I'm going to load up my brush, which means there's a lot of paint on there. And then I'm going to do a nice outline of my shape. I like to do an outline because then I know that whatever I try to paint on the inside isn't going to be all messy and sticking out every which way. Turn your paper, and you want to just kind of lightly drag that loaded brush along that line, and then you can just fill it in, and that's a nice solid red. You might have to do 2 coats, but not always. Now you're going to have a little container with water, doesn't matter what it is, and a paper towel. So make sure to dry your brush in between, and that doesn't have any more red on it because you don't want your other colors to be contaminated. I'm going to grab that blue and do the same thing. Now I can tell that my blue is a little bit waterier, if that's a word. Mostly because I think it's old paint and there's possibly some oil settling in there. I can just tell that that's not water. So I'll probably need 2 coats of my blue here. You want your color to be nice and solid, and you don't necessarily want to see your brush strokes. But I'll have to let it dry first before I put a second coat on, or I'm just going to be pushing the paint around. Nice sort of clean brush in between, and clean as in wiped down and dried. I'm going to grab my yellow. Yellow is nice and thick. And you'll find that you get faster. Like the first couple things you paint will be kind of slow because you're trying to be careful. But you're going to get a little bit more confident in your brush stroke, and you'll be able to work a little faster. Okay, so those are my 3 primaries: red, yellow, and blue. Wash my brush. Now I need to mix my secondaries. So a good way to remember how to mix a secondary is to look at which 2 primaries are alongside of it. So to get this secondary, I'm going to mix blue and red. Now here's a trick. I always try to mix the like most intense color into the less intense color. So blue always wins out for me. So I'm going to start with red, and I'm going to make purple here. Purple is my secondary. And then I'm going to grab a little blue. Now this particular acrylic paint makes this kind of like a weird brownish purple. It's not my favorite, but it's what we have to work with here. Yours might be better. And you just have to keep adding that blue until you feel like you have a purple that's in the middle. Now here is the trick I'm going to teach you to work a little faster. This is more red than blue, okay? So that's a tertiary color actually, because what's in between my purple and my red? Red, purple. So before I make that too blue, I'm going to drop that tertiary color in there into my little triangle here of tertiary. And that means I have my red purple already mixed. I got it mid-mix. It's a little color wheel hack. Okay, and then I'm going to keep grabbing that blue, and I'm just going to mix a little bit like in the corner because I don't need much. Now here we go. Here's a good purple. So right in between is kind of like a grape color. And when you mix it, you want to make sure that it's not like full of both colors. You want to really mix it. All right, and I got my purple. Again, I'm outlining that shape. I want to keep this as tidy as possible. You will get some points for it being nice and neat and tidy. It's just good practice. Doesn't mean that all painting needs to be nice and neat and tidy. It just means that you're learning the skills. Now if you accidentally go beyond the shape, just maybe draw another line, try to clean it up. Okay, so now we need a tertiary that's more blue than purple. So I'm going to just take my purple and I'm going to add a little bit more blue to it. Maybe work my way over here. That's a really pretty color. It's almost blue, but it's got a hint of red in there. And now I have my purple blue, which you might actually like better than your purple. It all just kind of depends on personal choice, and that's what happens with color mixing too. Not everybody's purple is going to look the same. Okay, so very quickly we've captured our purple, which is our secondary, our red purple, which is our tertiary, and our purple blue, which is another tertiary. Okay, so I'm just going to continue around the color wheel like that. But for the sake of this, not making this video too long, I'm going to do the monochromatic color scale here where I have my values. Because I've already got a really nice tertiary mixed, and I was saying I love that purple. So this is what you're going to do. Remember, this is shade, and this is a tint. Shade is when you add black to a color, and tint is when you add white. Okay, so I'm talking about this value scale right here. So shade is when you add black, tint is when you add white. You cannot mix these two. There should be no white paint in your shades, and there should be no black paint in your tints. So that means I have to start off with putting the purple either here or here. And I can decide, do I want more shades or do I want more tints? I always like the tints better. So I'm going to put my purple here. Now this purple, I think I need to mix more of it, because I'm going to need enough to mix all of these values.